All right. Hey there, mamas. It's your girl, Nina Shea, aka Mama Bear, and this is the Mama Bear podcast. Today, I have the special treat of being joined by the mamas, the authors of Sports Moms Playbook. And I'm telling you, we are in for a treat. We have what, like six of the ladies, but there are more. And so joining us today is Jamesetta, Shajuana, Neisha, Angela, Karen, and Nisa. And I want to just say welcome to y'all. Thank you for joining me.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for
having
having
us.
us.
Yes, it is such a pleasure. And then I would love for you to take a minute and just introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit more about yourselves and just a little bit, the families that, brought you to this space of this Sports Moms Playbook.
Okay, I'll start off. I'm Karen Reese. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a granny, and I'm a community person. And I have 4 children, and they all play some kind of sports.
Okay.
All right, I guess we'll keep going this way. My name is Neisha Byrd, and I am also an author, two-time author now. I work at a school, so that's what keeps me connected to sports. I
Mhm.
have 3 children. I was married. I'm now a widow, but I'm just so excited that I'm a part of this amazing group of women, and we get to do life together, even though it's spread out. We're still doing it together.
Awesome.
All
Awesome.
right, and I'm Angela Pride. I am a wife, mother of 5, and a Shasha of 2 because one is here. He's 4, my little Roman, and my little Miss Jazzy is on the way. So I am
Right.
excited to be here, excited to have participated in this book with these ladies. This is actually my 4th book, working on a couple of others, but just excited to be an author again.
Awesome. Awesome. And Nisa?
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Nisa. I am a wife and a mother of 3. I have one who's good at sports and 2 who are not so great at sports, but we are a sports family anyway. I I stay connected to sports because I have 60 nieces and nephews, and
Mhm.
all of them are playing some kind of sport at any given moment. So that's how I
Okay.
see.
Awesome.
And I'm Jamesetta Cleveland. I am a mom of 3. They're all adults, and then a grandmom of 2. And my kids all played sports. One of them played sports in college, but I actually met Karen through the internet, and I have a consulting firm called Sports Mom University Consulting, where I help moms navigate the world of like recruiting, NIL, and going pro. And just in the social spaces, we linked up, and we've been friends ever since. And she was like, "Hey, would you like to contribute to a book?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know that I have a story that people would want to hear, but I just set that on faith." And this is actually the first book that I have actually participated in. So it's exciting to be able to say I'm an author.
Amen.
Okay, well, it's my turn. my name is my name is Shajuana. I am a wife and a mother of 1. My son Jalen, he recently just graduated in May from Clark Atlanta University with his master's, and
Congrats.
he is currently pursuing a professional basketball career. Is we trying, but we trying to get there. But like James Zetta said, Karen, I met her through the internet. We had a conversation. She asked me, did I want to participate? I was like, I guess, I don't know. And so this is my first project as well. So I'm excited.
Okay. Well, again, welcome. And it's wonderful to see that all of you have, such strong backgrounds in advocacy and, of course, as mamas. And, I've talked to Angela before and James Setta and Karen, and I'm getting to know the other ladies. But I love how we come together and I see that, you are moms who have different perspectives, but kind of like one mission. We all, are here to advocate for our kids and other families. So the book, Sports Mom's Playbook is a guide to balancing faith, family, and sports. So, let's say, Karen, what made you come to the realization that this book was really needed right now?
Money. Because I mean, we all have our passion of, you
Right,
have passion projects. And at some point you got like, okay, how can I make some money with this? And
right.
so that was one of the things because I saw the value of sports mom voices. We needed a platform to be heard. And so the book is an avenue to do that, but it also supports us with our sports mom talk show. It supports us with a conference. It supports us in everything that we're trying to do as far as getting this information to parents that they need to know, because there's so much going on in the world of sports. And these ladies all have something in common as far as wanting to give back. And that was one thing that I missed even in my community. The moms were not coming back to share information. And so this book is a way that we can do that through the book as well.
Okay. And I love that concept. I know that there are some other books out there, and they're like the Teen Mom books, and then, there is another book out there that has a similar title. But what is it that makes this book is so different in terms of, how you formulated it and then the voices that you all bring to it?
I would like to answer that question
Mhm.
because in the world of sports right now where I am, I often hear trainers and others telling parents, well, if you bring your child to me, I'm going to create an athlete. You have to follow this step. There are voices that say specialization has to happen early and it has to happen often. And that if you do A, B, C, D, and E, which all involve giving someone other than parents money, then you're going to have this great athlete. And what people really need to understand, and if you read the book, what people will see is that there is no formula.
Mhm.
Everybody's journey is different, and that's intentional and deliberate because God does show up in our lives in different ways. We all got to the same place, but none of us have the same exact journey. And so, in the world where parents are increasingly being pressured to do certain things the
Mhm.
exact same way, no matter what the sport, I believe that it's very important for them to hear from voices that you don't actually have to follow what
Yes.
people are telling you to do. Your journey, if it's where God wants you to be, and you're obedient, you'll get there. It could be different.
That's true. And you all have that experience. So to me, if somebody is listening to someone to learn how to do something, you want to hear it from a person who has actually done it. And the great thing about this book to me is that you all come from different sports, you come from different stages, in that sport, and in different seasons, and then, you bring it all together, for one mission, again, just to educate moms and to bring that family value, because there are people out there, like you said, Jamesetta, that they're there to make money off of you. They're there to tell you, okay, just follow this formula. But oftentimes they're not really thinking about that child as an individual, and then just what your needs are. They're just thinking about how they can actually make money from you. So, and when you speak of that, James Setta, I know that you have always advocated for families, and I was just wondering, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges that families have trying to rear, and trying to really guide and just navigate with their young athlete?
I would say one of the biggest challenges is parents aren't continually, they're not learning. Part of it is hard. I mean, honestly, we don't come, kids don't come with like a handbook. In the
Mhm.
world of athletics, as parents, we should be learning everything, not just athletics, but the sheer act of learning your child is
Mhm.
exceedingly important. One
Mhm.
of the things that I would say for parents, if you're listening, you want to learn immediately if they're doing the sport because they want to please you,
Mhm.
because kids will learn I'm going to play whatever role gets me positive or loving treatment. And I was doing some work. I won't say I was doing some work. I'll be transparent. So I had an opportunity to go to shadow with the Tennessee Titans as one of as the only minority woman there in their community. So one of the things I learned is how many professional athletes have no idea of who they are as an individual. And I had to think about it like no parent starts off their journey saying, "Yeah, I want you to be super successful, make a lot of money, but I don't want you to know who you are, and I don't want
Right.
you to understand who you are outside of the sport." So I would say one of the biggest things that parents don't do is you don't learn your child, the process, how to vet people. Those are the things that I would say. If you could learn, everything
Mhm.
else will actually come out in the wash. But we just have to learn.
Right. And you're so right about that. I know that, when you look at statistics, I was looking at statistics here, and it talks about 70% of youth. Uh, a lot of them they quit, by the age of 13, because there isn't that proper guidance. And I know, Angela, I know that you also advocate and you consult with families too. So I'm just wondering, what are the ways, and how did you actually share that in the book, for parents to be able to guide and keep their kids, if they really want to play the sport, to keep them positive and help them to just keep going, because sports, it's not easy, and especially the higher up you get, high school, college, and then your son playing in the NFL. How do you help parents to navigate, all of those difficulties?
Well, the one thing I think that's really working against families today is are these little devices that many of us are on now. See,
Mm,
my kids didn't really have access to that sort of, when you think my son just turned 28, so none of my kids got phones until they were 16. Well, we live in a world now, my daughter's an educator and she teaches 7 and 8 year olds, and everybody has a phone. And so I
yes.
think so many people now, like what we're finding with some of our clients, is social media, there's just so much.
Mhm.
And so, what I think myself and my husband, what we focused on, we allowed our kids to choose, like, especially early on, play whatever you want to play, be good
Mm,
at whatever you want to be good at. I was definitely the academic coach, and still is. So, if you had your grades, you can do whatever you wanted to do. But I think now that there's just so much noise, and I think parents are really getting confused as well, and they just don't have enough wherewithal within themselves. Because again, I played basketball in high school. My husband was a superstar athlete, played in college, this, that, and the other, but ended up busting up his knee and also didn't have the grades. And so
mhm,
I basically took just the knowledge from he and I and
mhm.
wanted, of course, our kids to be better, right? So the push was, okay, get the grades. If you get the grades, you probably could get a scholarship doing that, academically, right? And so I just think there's just so much noise. And I think if parents could focus on kind of trying to minimize some of that noise and not looking at what everyone else does, because what was best for my baby girl was not what was best for my eldest son. And so
Right.
not really kind of trying to use that same spectrum. The spectrum can be from here to here, but the baby girl could be here, the eldest son was here, the middle boy was here, and so just kind of judging each one of them individually. And I think that we really did a good job of focusing on that. I don't know, you'd have to ask them. But even though they have their complaints now and they have their gripes and moans, I'm always kind of like, well, look at you now. Well, son, people are looking for you on TV. My educator was teacher of the year last year. So to me, it was more about being a mother than it
Mhm,
was about being a momager, than it was about being an agent. My eldest daughter, she sings. And
mhm.
so, my husband was like, yeah, you need to take her to California. I'm like, this girl doesn't know her head from, like she'll leave her head if so I knew she wasn't quite ready for that. So I kind of spoke to who my individuals were. And I think we just complimented each other on that, and we just encouraged in the way, because they all are different. And then I got a bonus one. So then we adopted my husband's cousin, and she just graduated from the Naval Academy, and now she's stationed in Norfolk, Virginia. So it's just all over the spectrum. And I think sometimes we just hone in on what we're seeing, what someone else is doing. And there is no manual. There's no manual for anybody. Forget athletes, but there's no manual for just being a parent, just getting your baby out of the womb and maybe out of high school. So, God bless us all for being able to, I guess say we've been successful at getting our young people to where they were choosing to be or where we wanted them to be. But I just think we've got to stop looking so much out. Doesn't mean you can't do your homework. Doesn't mean you don't need to do research. Doesn't mean you don't need to be up on things. But I just think we're so busy. And then the kids too, they got the devices. So, oh, my friend's on Twitter doing this, or my friend's dad said that we're supposed to do this. When sometimes you just need to be focused on your books, and sometimes you need to be focused on your sport if that's really what you want to do. And with my kids, again, playing multiple sports, when they said, I don't want to do this anymore, we were okay with it. We never were like, no, you have to do. Well, actually, I lie. The baby girl, she wanted to quit track, and I wouldn't let her. And she
Okay.
ended up going to state qualifier as a senior in high school, yada, yada, yada. She's the scholar. So she was always going to do well in school. So I pushed her for the athletics for other reasons, because athletics teach you other things, dealing with difficult people, enduring the trials, the grit, some of that, you can get some of that from athletics that you can't get necessarily from the books. And I knew she needed that. And now she just flew to Montana last week for her first kind of real job. And she's out here acting like an adult now at 23. So imagine that.
And listen, she listened to mama, and it made a difference in her life. But it's interesting because you don't always have parents who are in their children's life in that way. Sometimes they don't even know how to just kind of guide them and how to manage. And speaking of managing, Shajuana, I do believe you are you considered yourself a momager, and I'm sure you have to just help your son. Is it your son and
Yeah.
just your son? Okay.
Yes, it's my
To
son.
learn how to navigate and figure out contracts and all of these different things. So how did your experience help you to be able to contribute to this book?
Well, it kind of just fell in my lap, right? My son, he loves basketball. He's been playing since he was 4. And once he started at Clark Atlanta, it was right around the time when NIL started. And I noticed that Master P, he was like the first one to do an NIL for his son. And so it just put a light bulb in my head. I'm like, okay, well, let me just research this and see what I can do, because I don't think, at HBCUs, they don't have the same resources, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I know Clark Atlanta is not doing anything. So let me challenge myself and Jalen and see if we could get an NIL deal. So I just started doing research and started small with local businesses here in Dallas. And then I was able to do his first lucrative one with Snapchat. And so once I did that, and, we had to go through the laws in Georgia, we had to get permission from Clark Atlanta because he was the first student to athlete to have it. And so we had to do all of that. And so once I did that, I just went further. I was like, okay, if I could do Snapchat, let me reach out to Beats by Dre. Okay, if I could do Beats by Dre, let me reach out to. So I just kept doing that. And so it just kind of turned into me managing his brand. And so as he got closer to graduation, he wanted to go professionally. So up until a certain point, just recently, I had been, Jamesetta knows this, Nisa knows, everyone knows that I had been pretty much managing him, getting him tryouts, doing this. And now he has an agent now, but that's what led me to the book, just learning the NIL process, learning how to manage him and build his brand from a HBCU perspective. Because again, HBCUs, they don't have that. D1, D2, it's very rare you're going to see a HBCU student have any type of lucrative NIL deal. And so I wanted to change the narrative. I wanted to be part of that. And I would say it's been successful, but of course, it's ups and downs, and it's not where it needs to be. But hopefully, someone will read my story and take it to another level.
Absolutely. And the more voices like you ladies, obviously, the more people start to stop and listen. And I was going to ask you, how did people receive you when you started reaching out to, Beats by Dre in different places, like as a mom, being a momager, did you,
It was
you feel like,
challenging. Of course, I get no's, but I'm a persistent person. Um,
okay,
I just kind of I did my research though, my due diligence, like with Beats by Dre, the contact person that I had found, I noticed that she was a HBCU alum. So I used that as a tactic to get
abs-
in the door. I'm like, hey, I noticed you're an HBCU alum. My son goes to HBCU. Can we do some type of work together? So it started out at first, just, oh, I'll just give you some product. He's not going to be able to do anything. And then like a year later, she gave him a one-pager deal where he was able to do an advertisement for them.
wow.
And we still have a great relationship to this day. And so I've used pitches like that. Like when I reached out to McDonald's, I noticed that one of the uh, um, management on the executive level was a Clark Atlanta alum. So I was like, hey, you're Clark. So I was very strategic on how I moved.
Mhm.
And so that's how I was able to get in some doors. But of course, I had other doors that was like, oh, we're not doing any deals at this time, but then turn around and then you got some basketball player from Duke that got the same deal that I asked for. But, that just comes with the territory. But again, I was strategic on how I moved.
Absolutely. And did you feel like by being a woman, did you ever feel that there was just any kind of, kind of just like not taking you as
Oh,
serious
of
when it came
course.
to,
Of
yeah.
course, of course. And I'm persistent and I will speak up for myself and I will advocate for my kid. And then
Mhm.
when I felt that way, I would voice my opinion, or I would try to take it to another level. But again, as a female, as a
Right.
black female, you know, I was getting, the nose or whatever. And so, like I said, I would just go another direction. But yeah, of course, and then just with the HBCU period, like the first, if they see HBCU or Clark Atlanta, that was an automatic
Mm.
no at sometimes. But I just kept pushing.
That's interesting. And it's funny how things have changed now as far as HBCUs are concerned. And we know the talent that comes out of the schools. And we know that, they're not lacking. Students from HBCUs are not lacking in any way. Resources maybe,
Yeah,
that are available to them, but otherwise they are tremendous contributors. So
yeah,
it's to see that there has been a shift, even with Deion Sanders coming in and just kind of bringing that attention to where it's most, deserved.
yeah.
So it's great to
Okay.
see a mom just saying, you know what, this is what I'm going to do because I can, and I care enough about my child, and I'm not going to let anybody, just close the door without, me giving it a valiant effort,
Right,
just kind
right,
of go another avenue because sometimes we have to.
right.
Absolutely.
And
So,
and on the college level, I'm sorry, and on the college level, it still has work to do. But on the
yeah,
professional level, it definitely has work to do because
I'm
that's
sh
the journey that we're in now, right? So,
mhm,
for example, he was entered into the G League draft, but he goes undrafted because he's an HBCU student. You get
mm,
calls from teams that, oh, we're going to put him on our list. We're going to call him up. Still no call ups, but then, they're calling up the other guys that average lower or less playing time. But it needs improvement. And so I'm still fighting from a
yeah,
college level, from a professional level. I'm still fighting. So I hope that Dion and other celebrities can just help continue to advocate for it.
I think it's
absolutely.
important. I think
And
it's
Nisa, you have a daughter that plays sports. Is that correct, Nisa?
Oh, I have a son. I have
A
a son who
son.
plays.
Okay.
Yes,
All
I have
right.
a
And
son.
so what was, I guess, what do you think was the biggest thing that you wanted to contribute to the playbook?
The biggest thing I wanted to contribute, or what I felt like I could contribute, was from a young age. My son grew up, as you heard, I have a lot of nieces and nephews.
Mhm.
So he grew up with a lot of family, and everybody plays sports. And when everybody plays sports, it's kind of like Angela said, sometimes they're doing things that, maybe they really don't like this. They just going
Mhm.
along because other people. So the biggest thing that I could contribute was really focusing on who your children are, what
Mhm.
their likes and their dislikes are, how they can be their authentic self,
Mhm.
and grow up in a world where, there are a lot of influences. How can they really determine who they are and who they want to be?
Mhm.
And so that's the biggest thing that I could contribute. I remember a long time ago, Karen asked me, she's like, how is it that you got AJ to understand, like, if he didn't have sports, like what he would do with himself? And I was like, I don't know how I got him to understand that, because I never really cared if he played sports or not. I I made sure he was interested in other things,
Ah,
because I didn't want that to be his only outlet, or for him to be defined by being an athlete.
right.
He is a whole person, and so that's what I wanted to contribute to the book, for moms to understand. Your children are entire people. They are made up of many facets. They are going to have many likes and dislikes, and if you put all of your energy towards one focus, of them being an athlete, whether it's a great one or a mediocre one, or if they crash and burn in the very beginning, if that's all that you're focused on, you've really missed out on who that whole person is. And sometimes,
Absolutely.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
And
I just said
sometimes
absolutely.
and sometimes they cannot, because they are young and being molded and being influenced. Sometimes we don't build them up enough to be able to be resilient in those
Mm.
situations where sports may not be, where they're going to end up. None of us know where this journey with our children, honestly, when you start out playing sports, I start my chapter that way. I never in a million years knew my son would play professional football. When he
Mhm.
was playing at 4 years old, I just was happy that he was expending energy and not going to be, keeping me up all night. I
Right.
was just happy that he was out there on the field. It was never my idea or planning that he would be entering the draft, several years later. But like Angela said, and Jamesetta as well, sometimes that's the goal of a parent. And
Right.
this book really helps parents to understand that is not, your role.
Mhm.
Is not to make your child this star athlete. That's
Right.
not you have to remember that you're a mom first,
Mhm.
to your children. And you'll be a mom whether after they play, before they play. So take that role very seriously.
Right.
We always say, that there's not a formula. There is not a formula to creating a great athlete. But there are tips to create a great human, and that's
Right.
what we have to focus on. And that's, I think, what my chapter, and with my son, I really do. I am very biased, but I do think he's a really great human. uh, and and that's because that's what we focused on the most. I'll tell you, he would be like, but he would always. I was always there. I was always going to be at the games, but I'm not at the games because I need to be seen. I'm at the games because I need to see him. I need to see how he reacts to situations. It's
Right.
so funny. Angela says a lot of the things that I was like, that's what I think too. But that's why, because when I'm looking at him in the game, I'm
Uh-huh.
not looking, I am looking to make sure his technique is right. I have to be honest. But I'm also looking at, like, when things happen, the
Uh-huh.
reaction in his face, his
Uh-huh.
body language, because these are things that I want to talk to him about, just to understand, like, where he's coming from. These are conversations we need to be having, because that helps him to develop. That
Mhm.
helps him to understand how to deal with situations. Sports is something that it it's not for the weak or the meek.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and it can be very taxing on young minds, just as it is on their bodies, but
Mhm.
definitely on their minds. And it is very mentally distressing, some of the things that they go through as young athletes.
That is
So, oh, yes, so as mothers, we have to be very, very careful about who we allow to influence our children, and
true.
pay attention to who they are, so that we're building them up and not helping to break them down. So
Absolutely.
that's my chapter.
And I'm so glad that you all are touching on not just the aspect of, the type of player that you are, but the person that you are. Because we know if you have a healthy uh, player, as far as his mind is concerned and his spirit, then you will have a better player, physically. You
Yes,
can't have one without the other. And
no,
and the mental aspect, I love also that you delved into mental health and just kind of making sure that you nurture that part of the athlete too, because that's just such an important part of them knowing who they are, as you said earlier, and just kind of helping them to navigate through all of those the craziness, because like you said, it is not for the weak,
it's
for
not
sure.
for it looks
Yes.
really exciting, but it really comes with a lot of hard work and sometimes heartache. Even as AJ decided on his foundation, he's been in the NFL now for 6 seasons, thank God.
Wow.
All of this, and but what he decided on, and this is something I didn't do for him. A lot of people are like, oh, he needs to get a foundation right away. But I wanted it to be something that connected with him, that
Uh-huh.
he saw value in. And so
Right.
his foundation is it focuses on a holistic approach to athletes.
Okay.
Mental well-being is a big part of that. Mental well-being not only for the athlete, but for the family, because
Mhm.
the whole family, when you have an athlete, especially as they start to, even from little, because now, oh my God, these leagues where, it's travel leagues, it's, what are they, it's just, it's so intense. It's
It's
so,
a lot.
you gotta pack all the kids up and take them on tournaments, and the tournaments last
Mhm.
2 days. I'm like, what happened to
Yes.
Pop Warner, where you just go play on Saturday?
Oh, no. And you gotta spend a whole bunch of money to, get them in all of
Yes,
these different types of camps and 7-on-7s and then all of that.
yes.
Oh Lord, the training
Yes,
is
and so I mean volleyball. Oh my gosh, I can't eat club leagues and specialty club leagues, and it's just so much.
yeah,
So the whole family actually is affected
right.
um, p- by the sports player. So it's a holistic approach to really just making sure that everybody is being the well-being of everyone is being addressed, especially the
Mhm.
athlete, um, so that to make sure that they don't miss out on that self-care that
Mhm.
allows them to be a better person. So
Yes.
that's what he chose, and I was very excited about that. So that's in another way that I think I empowered him. Be who you are. Say what
Mhm.
what you need, what you see, how you can be valuable to others.
Mhm.
And so that's the foundation that he chose. And we had our first camp, I do have to say, last year. It was really successful. I'm very thankful about that. But that was something that when I see things like that, that makes me know that this book is really important to other parents, because those
Yes.
are the things that really give us, that warms us as parents, as
Mhm.
moms, to see our
Yes.
children doing well,
Absolutely.
adjusting well in life.
Yes, and for you to nurture a great human being, a citizen, that that makes
Yes,
all the difference, because it's not just to get out there and run up and down the field or the court or whatever the case may be. You have to be a productive, member of society. You have to be good to people.
right.
You having a successful foundation like your son, you have to actually be of service, and you have to really care about something more than yourself and just being the athlete. So I love that. And I thank you for that, for sharing that. And I wanted to ask you, Neisha, you come from an educational background, correct?
Well, I work at a school.
You work at the school. Okay. So do you see a lot of differences? It was that part of your contribution to the book, just kind of your experiences working at a school and working with other kids?
Yes and no.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
think mine is kind of twofold, maybe tenfold. I don't know. I think I'm a secret. I think I'm one of those secret weapon women because I'm inside of the school. So I'm the one. I get to go into the locker rooms. I get to
Uh-huh.
talk to the coaches. I get to talk to the students after they've had a game. Um, while just walking down the hallway. So I love that what the ladies were talking about, because you want the whole
Mhm.
student, the whole
Mhm.
person. Well, a lot of our parents, they can't be at the games.
Right.
So they don't see their kid acting a fool all day
Mm,
at school. And then you ready to be the star
Mhm.
on the court, but you acting a fool at school, it's going to show up on the court.
Absolutely.
mm,
I get to speak to that all the time. And because I have a relationship with the kids and the parents, I can do both. And I
Mhm.
just, as the other thing you were talking about foundation, but
Uh-huh.
what we have going for us, this group of women, is the foundation of the Holy Spirit.
mm.
It's so
Okay.
strong, it's so deep in us because every single time they talk, they say, well, this happened. And really wasn't, we can make our plans. But when we put it before the Lord, then He just guides us to where we need to be.
Mhm.
So the part of my book is my son passed away when he was a junior in college.
Mhm.
And what do you do with grief after you lost your kid? You dream any dream that my kid had is gone. Like all of his people right now, his age, they're getting married, they're having children, they're naming their kids after my kid. Now I just got a phone call just recently that one of the kids named their child after my son. And
Wow.
so it's the legacy afterwards, and not just his legacy, but really the legacy of who Jesus is, who Jesus is in us. He's
Amen.
hope, he's determination, he's strong, he's our rock. And so that's where I am. That's where my daughter is. She is a graduate of Abilene Christian University. She got her master's in social work. She works at a school and she's a college readiness advisor. She's doing the same thing.
Mm.
But
Oh,
when she was at Abilene Christian, when she went there, she was the athlete of the year to her high school. Her grades were always straight A, but of course, when you go play basketball, all the other 50 girls are exactly the same.
mhm.
She went in because we didn't have a sports mom book, so I didn't know anything. Daddy's working all the time, and he's worried about the boy over here. Like, what are we going to do with him? Because his grades weren't great. Well,
Mhm.
she always had the grades. She went in there and got her own interview with the basketball coach,
Wow.
got on the team, redshirted, and then the next year, the coach says, "Do you want to play or do you want to manage?" And so she's like, "Mom, what do I do?" I'm like, "Do you plan on being a part of the WNBA?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "Well, then you manage." Well, that's what opened up the doors that for her 4 years there, plus her years getting her master's, she traveled with the team.
Mm,
She went out of the country. If they got new gear, she got new gear. She
Mhm.
has lifelong friends. They were there when her brother passed. That was her family.
Mhm.
And now those women, because they're in their 30s now, are
Mhm.
having babies, and but she carries that legacy also of
Mhm.
hope.
Mhm.
mm.
So that's all I
Amazing.
can say is that's my contribution. What do you do when you have all these dreams, no matter what they are?
Mhm.
What do you do with it afterwards? You sow into other kids.
Wow.
Mm,
You massage and you speak into your other, your children. I mean, you did that before, but now you got to, you know what I mean, because your focus is over here with this one. Is like, wait a minute, we move some focus. Like we got to get you going too, and making sure that you're grounded too. So I don't know, it's a lot. It's hard. Every day on Saturday it'll
Mhm.
be my son's birthday. So January is always hard, for me
Mhm.
to to go through that. But this week alone, 2 of our seniors have sent me essays because I give out a scholarship at the end of the year. I've never asked for an essay. But for whatever reason, they're like, hey, I want to have the Carmen Byrd Award. I'm going to send you something. So I'm like, why didn't I ever ask for essays before? I don't know, because I didn't have.
You were just thinking to give. Right?
Yes, I'm listening to the foundation. I'm like, why don't I have a foundation? Because it's always just been word of mouth, because I didn't have a playbook. My sister, who has a freshman, and she just asked me today, she said, Neisha, I need the book. I need the link, because we just don't know what to do with our boys. So they are needing something. And she's in Frisco, where everything is very political. You know, there's not too many African American boys where she is. And so I just keep trying to talk to her about exactly the same thing that you ladies are talking about. Like, does he really love playing football? You know, or does he really like baseball?
Wow.
You know, he's a smart kid. You know, just the basic things that I know. Are you praying about it? You know, what voices are you listening to?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing too. It's so many voices that if you don't have, you know, ladies like you that know now from trial and error, then what do you do? You've got a lot of wasted time because you don't know what to do. So that's why we need something.
Yeah, you need the village that you guys have. Absolutely.
And I just want to say,
they need the Sports Mom playbook.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say
that's exactly it, and that's what they've asked for. She's bought, and she's like, "Well, I need to get another one." But I think they're trying to find who they are in the book. Do you know what I'm saying? To say, okay, this is me, so now I can take this and go.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. That's the beauty about what Karen did. Any mom, any parent, it's sports moms because, you know, we rally for ourselves, but any parent with the collaboration of stories in this book, you are going to find yourself in one of those chapters, if not more than one.
Yeah.
And so whatever phase you find yourself in as a sports mom or parent, you're going to identify in one of these chapters.
Yes.
Because when Neisha was talking, I was also thinking about J-Dub or about my son. Eventually, at some point, for Neisha, it was death, and that's so permanent. But at some point, the athlete part, the sports, is going to go away. And you have to have something that they are still willing to, they have to be able to let it go. And refocus, like you said, and pour that somewhere else. And so when I was listening to you, I was thinking about that. I was like, wow, when I'm hearing her talk, I'm just thinking about yours. You know, I'm thinking about what is next. Like, some of these kids don't even have an idea of what could be next in my life. And that's parents don't think about what could be next in my life if this goes away. So it was just touching me all over again. And I know your story. I've read it, but just hearing you say it, I'm like, wow.
This is so powerful.
Parents have such a hard time when their kids go to college.
Right.
Because they have, their whole life has been taking their kids to sports. So what do you do as, you know, the woman, mostly because we're the ones going back and forth most of the time. What do you do with your life after that?
Yes.
They don't know. They do not know. I get phone call to phone call. What am I going to do there? I'm like, they're probably coming back. I mean, mine didn't come back, but yours is probably coming back.
That is so true. I applaud you, Neisha, for thinking beyond you, your circumstance, and, like you said, pouring into other kids. You know, you don't have your son to continue that on, you know, as far as that world of sports, but for you to say, okay, let me figure out how I can pour into other athletes to make them better and to help them to find out, you know, who they are, figure out what they need with the scholarships and all of that. I mean, you know, as mothers, we tend to look out for other kids, in our communities. But, sometimes grief taking hold of you like that, which I can't imagine. It does, keep us sometimes where we are a little stuck. So I am just, thankful to God that you were able to move beyond where you were and to be able to pour into other people. It
Well,
says so
that
much
goes
about you.
back to the foundation what we were talking about. Because if I didn't show back up, then I would have been a lie about who God is in my life.
Right.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's the
Yeah,
foundation.
absolutely.
It's the foundation is very important. Very
That
important.
is true. That is true.